the left-hand side, look towards the top of the Boots building, and you'll see 3 dates just here on the left: a built, a rebuilt, and a restored. That's very typical of Chester. The first gable on the old Queen's Head reads 1508. That's slightly deceptive. 1508, the date of the first building on the site. This pub was built in 1939. This pattern in Chester is synonymous with the Grosvenor family. Our next stop is for the Premiere Inn. Should you require it, give us a ding on the bell. An echo of Chester's industrial past is coming up on the right-hand side. You'll see a big chimney, which is one of the last remaining complete lead shot towers in the country. The lead works completed in 1801 and built ostensibly to make ammunition for the British Army and Navy fighting eventually in the Napoleonic Wars. The lead works continued to function up until the 1980s, when it was closed. Interesting outfit, put together by the Cadburys, the Frys and the Rowntrees, all very famous chocolate manufacturing families, of course, and followers of the Quaker persuasion, members of the Temperance Society, a big anti-alcohol movement. And they got together in the late 1870s and opened 4 cocoa houses in the city, in opposition to and in competition with the 365 pubs that were here at the time. Now, just to put that in perspective, there are around 100 pubs left in the city today. So as you can imagine, with 365 of them, the incidence of alcohol abuse, particularly amongst the working class, was of epidemic proportions. And the cocoa houses were opened in an attempt to draw people away from the evils of alcohol. This was a very laudable idea, and as with many very laudable ideas, it failed completely. Within a few years, all the cocoa houses had closed for business, and it's ironic to think that the only 2 premises left, where they used to be, are now both pubs. Now, directly ahead of us, and shortly to be on our right-hand side, you will see the 4-square sandstone turreted tower of Chester's Cathedral. That was the cestry and the flour mill back in the 19th century. And the delightful tenement block coming up on your right-hand side with the high chimney stacks is the Parker Building, completed in 1889 by John Douglas at the behest of the first Duke of Westminster to provide housing for retiring estate workers. The red brick church peeping out beyond it, also on the same side on the left. And beyond the church is a really interesting terrace of 6 houses, very ornamental, nothing else like them in Chester. Also on the left is the Grosvenor Park Lodge, completed in 1864 in that mock Tudor style. Here's the park on the left. It's a lovely park, this, laid out in the middle of the 19th century on land donated to the city by the 2nd Marquess of Westminster. It was used mostly for military training. However, when they did open it to the public on holidays, they were treated in the morning to military displays, animal hunting of various kinds. The faces are based on the faces of the Friends of the Masons who built the church back in 1851. They were designed by James Harrison. Just coming up beyond the bus stop here, look up and you'll see what I mean on the left. It's about 1 metre out of true, and coming up shortly on the left is the 17th century version of St. Olave's Church, one of the smallest churches in the county, and another consecrated one. Here it is on the left. The original St. Olave's, built by Christian Vikings back in the 10th century. Built, as you can see, in 1664. Formerly the home, this, of the Earls of Shrewsbury. It's been a pub now for over 250 years. The Agricola Tower is one of the last remaining vestiges of the 12th century Norman castle that stood on the site. That was the gatehouse to the inner bailey of that castle, much of which was demolished towards the end of the 18th century to make way for a whole raft of buildings known collectively these days as Chester Castle. But as you'll see in a little while, much of Chester's castle doesn't really resemble a castle anymore. Just here on the right, this was discovered in somebody's back garden about 60 years ago. What it was doing in somebody's back garden, I have no idea. But it's got a big crack down the middle of it, so it may well have fallen off the back of a lorry. Who knows? Whoever had it was persuaded to return it to the city. But it's now a Greek Orthodox church. Unusual thing to find in a cemetery in the northwest of England, but we're very pleased to have it here. Mary Jonas is buried in this cemetery, including the splendid full Norman church, which is coming up on your left. St Mary's Without the Walls was completed in 1887 and is built, as you can see, from red sandstone. This is no surprise. Chester itself is built on a very large Triassic sandstone ridge. Down there on the right hand side is the weir, or the causeway. It's been down there for about 1,000 years and was installed by the Normans shortly after they arrived to quicken up the waters of the River Dee to power the mills that were built either side. It's open today until 5 o'clock and is completely free to access. It's a good museum that's on the left hand side. A couple of particularly good rooms dedicated to the Roman occupation of this area. There's an exhibition of Chester silver in there, a natural history section, lots to see. So worth having a look if you have the time. Harrison, the architect, knew it was going to take a while to complete that building, or those buildings rather. So he built himself a house to oversee it. Now coming up on the left is that house, and you'll see he didn't stick himself. A lovely place for the architect. Quite a nice. Now coming up around the corner in a moment is a really beautiful building called Stanley Palace. Furthest from the street in 1590. The middle section here was added in 1770, and the section closest to the street was added in 1935, although you wouldn't think it to look at it. So on the left is Watergate House, designed by Thomas Harrison and completed in 1826. In the early 20th century, the headquarters of the Western Command of the British Army. And directly ahead of us is the Watergate with its brand new sandstone balustrade there. The research for the Watergate is that going back several centuries, however, the River Dee has silted up a lot over the years, and by the early 18th century, the river deteriorated into such a condition that a decision was made to move the port further downstream to help with navigation. And that's it. That's all that remains of the very important port of Chester. By the early 20th century, the river had silted up so badly, all trade ceased along the banks of the River Dee. Liverpool and the River Mersey had taken much of the trade by then. Anyway, coming up ahead of us on the right hand side is the water tower. This circular sandstone tower built in 1323 as a defensive tower for the port stood in the river. And if you look down to the right in just a moment, you'll see the bridge that links it to the main body of Chester's surrounding wall. This is a wonderfully symmetrical building, ceased to be a school in 1949 and is now the home of several charities based in the city. Look to the left, and along the wall you'll see a ledge about 5 feet down from the top. Anything below that ledge is Roman in construction and has been here for the best part of 2,000 years. Look the other way beyond the black railings and you'll see a small bridge, which is known as the Bridge of Sighs. And coming up also on the right, the Pied Bull. Well, that was an old poaching inn. It started trading in 1535. A very recognisable Odeon building, Art Deco style, coming up on your right hand side. It was derelict for many years. It was built in 1936. It's now part of Chester's spectacular new story house complex. Coming up ahead on the left hand side in a moment, when we get through St Martin's Gate, look down on the left hand side and you'll see Thomas Telford's 18th century staircase of lofts, just beyond the tree here on your left. Those lofts down there take the level of the canal down around 33 feet to the level of the River Dee, for which the loft, or the canal rather, is a dam. Over here on the left hand side in the distance are the Floridian range of hills in North Wales. To hold the town for 10 days while he made for his escape. We didn't hold it for 10 days, we held it for around 5.5 months. And at the end of that period, the end of the siege of Chester, the town had been reduced to rubble and the population were on the point of starvation. So it was surrendered, Chester, on the 3rd of February 1646. Chester was the last major port to fall on the west coast of the island. Look to the right, you'll see it. Commissioned to celebrate the Diamond Jubilee, the 60th year on the throne of Queen Victoria. The clock is mounted on the East Gate, which was rebuilt in 1769. But coming up shortly on the right hand side is a Tudor building. You'll notice the date on the front of it. Here on the right, 1571. Just to put that in context, the playwright William Shakespeare was about 7 years old